Alright, so my name is Hema.
My name's Melissa, and we will be talking about race and the myths and the true statements made about race, and we will either debunk those or agree with those terms and statements.
And so I guess we're gonna just go ahead and start off. So the first thing that we do want to talk about, and this is all on the What is Race website, and it's the pbs.org/race, what is race, page. And one of the things that is pointed out on there is number 5 on there is race justifies social inequities as natural. So we've
Inequalities.
Oh, sorry.
You're
Race justifies social inequalities as natural. And we've already sort of talked about this a little bit off camera, but we really kind of got into the fact that a lot of the times we do make laws that end up sort of encompassing our idea of race. So going back to, the Trail of Tears with the Native Americans, if you go on history.com, Trail of Tears, then you obviously can see that we justify laws. We make laws being like, oh, you're not, taking care of this land. It is our job to go ahead and take over the land. And this is all based on race. So it's a group of people with their own religion, culture, idea, and stuff like that.
weapons.
Right.
Fear.
And we justify, being like, we're going to take this land by putting laws down saying that the reason we're taking it is because, they as a race are not capable of taking care of it, and that we would do a better job. And this happened back in the, 1831 through 1877. And so we already see this as a very early standing of race.
Racism.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that happens throughout history. Did you have a question?
Well, I think you also didn't you mention the Jim Crow laws?
So that's actually another point for this specific idea. We also created the Jim Crow laws. We did say things are separate but equal back in the 1965. Clearly that's not the case, but we wanted to separate ourselves based on race so much that we created laws that made it possible for us to segregate people. So it really does go to show that that is one of the bigger truths that we have. We've made laws and we've made things that justify us being these types of people who allow these things to happen.
Right. So you're saying that our country in the past has made laws that do justify inequalities and, masked as as laws, but covering the injustice of, that is racism, and that's what you're saying.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going with.
Okay.
And then did you have something as well?
Right. My statement that I do believe is true is that race is not biological, but racism is still real, and that's number 9 on the What is Race KLRU website, pbs.org. So I agree with that. Race is not biological, but racism is still real, because people may look a certain way, but their genetic makeup may be farther away from what we actually think they are or perceive them to be. Something that you could do is go on YouTube and check out Ancestry DNA YouTube videos where people that look a certain way, they take their DNA test, the results come in, and they themselves think they're a certain race, but it tends to be sometimes completely different, or it could be that they're half a certain race and a certain ethnicity, and then the other half is another ethnicity, or a bunch of little other ethnicities that make up one person. So that's kind of difficult to just like you said, encompass race and just kind of okay, this person is Hispanic, this person is all Black, and this person is all European, Caucasian, or something like that, because race is just a term. It is not a biological term. I mean, it's used that way, but it's not.
Right. So what you're saying is that we tend to be like race is the biological term of it, but when in fact it's not. It's more based on how you look in that moment.
Yeah, and actually that's the definition of race in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. I'll read it. It says, race, a category of humankind that shares certain distinctive physical traits. And I mean, I guess sometimes that may be true, like, oh, but, when it comes down to it, we all have a little bit of something else. And sometimes it could surprise us based on those, people's experiences.
Yeah.
That would be my number 9 statement that I believe is true. Racism is still real. That's part of the statement. Obviously, racism is still real. Turn on the news, you could hear even our own president of the United States make remarks that you're like, that was kind of, racist, Yeah, so there's definitely racism is still real. And unfortunately, that's the case today.
No, I completely agree with you. You said it very eloquently. I guess I always thought in the back of my mind as well, I thought, yeah, that makes sense that, race is something ethnic and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, when you kind of do the research for it and you really think about it, that is not how it is.
Yeah.
So that's a great point. And I guess this goes also back to my second point, which is number 10, and it's colorblindness will not end racism.
And that is both of our, we chose the same statement, which we both believe that it's true.
We both believe that's true. I guess for me, I think that it's true, even if you colorblind everyone, even if you blindfolded them, we are creatures of habit. We tend to go in groups, and we tend to kind of cluster with people who have the same, even if it's not race, it would be, religion or whatever it was. We'll always find a ways to sort of do that unless we address an issue. So
exactly. So you're saying, like, doesn't matter what color we are, we tend to migrate with our own kind of people, I guess, or people that we have more in common with, and that's true. I mean, it is true. I agree that colorblindness will not end racism. I see colorblindness as ignorance, or as like, okay, I don't see color. It's kind of another way of saying, I don't acknowledge you. I'm not looking at your differences. I'm trying to act like it's not there, when in fact we share this earth. We share, just these lives together, and I think it's ignorant. I think we're choosing to ignore our physical and cultural differences when we should be accepting them and embracing them, and just acknowledging each other.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And creating like a harmony, and subsequently just, getting along. And I think that would end racism if we embraced each other's differences.
Yeah, so sort of, you said embracing and also talking about them, so really getting involved with the idea of race and what it is instead of brushing it to the side, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's
wonderful, and actually I think that makes a great point for one of my resources, which is actually comes from the musical Avenue Q. And this entire musical was very pronounced for sort of opening people's eyes to race as well as gay rights. And one of their last sort of songs is Everyone's a Little Bit Racist. And within it, it says, the statement, everyone's a little bit racist. And it talks about how if we do not talk about it, and we are not actively sort of having a conversation that is not muddled by, us criticizing each other or judging each other, or, being a little far too sensitive, then we can possibly get somewhere. And the ending of that song in the musical says, if we do this, then quote unquote, maybe we could live in harmony. And I think that's the whole point of it. Right?
So your point is that if we talk about it, and if we're open to it, and if we're less sensitive and try to explain our differences, or maybe just kind of educate people on them, we could also get along. And that's part of the accepting and embracing, talking about it.
Yeah, talking about it. So I think, and and I feel like so it sounds like we agree on this last point, and this one's our one very, very strong point that we want to go ahead and sort of point out.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the other two that we individually talked about, which one do you think would probably moves more strongly towards? It was number 5 and I believe number 9.
I don't know. I like them both. I think we agreed that I would do number 10, so maybe you can choose the other one?
Yeah, so I think all of them are important, honestly. But for this specific one, I think I definitely want to go with race is not something that is biological.
Oh, okay.
Simply because I feel like it goes hand in hand with that colorblindness
Right.
part of it, you know.
Okay.
So I feel like number 9 and number 10 would be great. Do you agree on that?
I agree with that.
Okay, wonderful. Well, that's about it. Thank you, and
Thank you.
Bye.